So thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to talk to you about a condition I've got called prolactinoma. So this is a reasonably rare condition, and although when you Google it there's lots of information online, it's quite factual, and I've struggled over the years to find first-hand accounts of people talking about their prolactinoma. So I thought it might be nice to create this video in the hope that it might help others or people who are trying to understand the condition. Now, big disclaimer, I am not a doctor, I'm not an endocrinologist, I'm not a specialist in this subject. I'm just sharing with you my own experiences and what I've learned over the years. So please go and speak to a doctor if you need official advice. Like I say, this is just my opinion, this is just my experiences. So first of all, I'm just going to say I'm in my office and there's a glass roof, and basically the light's a bit harsh today and there are dust motes flying around, so I apologise if the quality is not as good as usual, but let's continue. So I have a prolactinoma, and a prolactinoma is a small benign tumour on the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is attached to your brain in some way. Again, not a clinician, but it's behind your eyes and it produces lots of different hormones. So one of the hormones the pituitary gland produces is prolactin, and my body produces too much of that hormone prolactin, and the build-up of that hormone has caused this small benign tumour. So if we go back to when I was diagnosed, it took me a long time to get diagnosed. My main symptom was that I didn't have any periods. So that might sound lovely if you have a period every month and everything, but I wasn't having periods at all, maybe once a year and very light. And so I mentioned this to my GP, and we did some tests, and they thought maybe I had polycystic ovaries, and various different things went on, but nothing was really diagnosed. And it was only over a period of time that I started to have more symptoms. I started to have headaches quite frequently. And I didn't really attribute it as being linked at the time, but I also had quite bad mood swings. I got irritable very easily. I got depressed quite easily and stressed very easily. And eventually, I actually went in to see my GP because I'd hurt my leg and I had a lump come up on my leg, and that was fine. But I said, while I'm here, I'm still not having any periods. And so my GP ran a load of blood tests, and she saw that over a period of time, my prolactin level was going up and up and up. So prolactin is a hormone, and it's usually only produced in high quantities in women who are pregnant. So it means that your periods stop, and it helps women to start lactating and producing breast milk. And some people who have my condition actually start producing breast milk. I am very lucky. I have never produced breast milk myself, but it is a common symptom with this condition, and men can get it too. And there's no known reason why men would even produce prolactin in the first place, so it's very strange. And there are lots of different symptoms. Mine were, like I say, the lack of periods and headaches. I know that lactation is also a common symptom, but there are lots of others. There's things like lack of sex drive and all sorts of other things. It's different for different people. So my GP actually rang me and she said, your prolactin has gone even higher, and she said, I don't want to concern you, but you may have a tumour close to your brain. Now, when someone says the words tumour and brain together, that obviously rings alarm bells. And I found this all the way along. So this was back in 2007 that I was diagnosed. So that's 14 years ago this year. And I found that GPs and nurses often don't know much about this condition because it is reasonably rare, and they'll always refer me back to the specialist. So she was quite vague. She was very friendly and helpful, and said, don't worry, it's probably benign, it's probably not serious, but I need to refer you to an endocrinologist. So if you've never heard of an endocrinologist before, that's a hormone specialist. And I was working in a normal job at the time, so I had private healthcare, and I went and saw a private endocrinologist in Oxford, and he was really helpful. He really reassured me that I was probably at the early stages of my prolactinoma, and that it would be treatable, and although it can make you infertile, it's also treatable, and if I wanted to have children, then they could definitely help me with that. So I know that that's a common concern for women when you're first diagnosed, is you think that you might become infertile, or you may already be infertile. I can't speak to that personally. I've never actually tried to get pregnant, and I'm not planning to ever try and get pregnant. But I was told that if I wanted to have children, they would be able to help me with that. So if that's a concern, try not to worry, and make sure you get some help with that. So I had an MRI scan on my brain, and they basically could find this tumour. At the time it was very, very small, and that's great because so mine is called a hyperprolactinemia because it's very small, but if it goes undetected and it gets too big, then it can actually start to press on the nerves and the optics behind your eyes, and it can cause eyesight problems, and all sorts of other problems, as anything that's growing inside you that shouldn't be there technically can do. It can cause bigger problems, but luckily for me, mine was reasonably small. So they then prescribed me a medicine called cabogalin, and it's very common that people have very adverse side effects with cabogalin. There's a lot of nausea or sickness, dizziness, lightheadedness and things like that, and various other things. Luckily for me, I seem to be able to tolerate it, and so I started taking that, and things settled down. My periods eventually returned, I had less headaches, and really over the years, that's kind of how I've continued. So once a year, I have a check-in with the endocrinologist. I take this cabogalin, and I literally take 1 tablet a week. And it's not really been too much of a problem for me. Like I said, I didn't want to try and have children anyway, and it kind of felt manageable, apart from a couple of times that I've had problems. So a few years ago, the endocrinologist I was seeing at the time was doing an experiment where he doubled the dose of medicine for people, and in the hope that it might cure them, because previously it was believed to be a chronic condition that couldn't be cured. So I agreed to take part in that experiment. And then I started to get really bad side effects from the medicine. So I was really, really lightheaded. I even couldn't go to work for about a week because I just felt dizzy all the time. I couldn't have driven, and I was barely able to do anything. So I went back down to my original dose, and everything was fine. And then a few years after that, I suddenly, on my yearly checkup, I had a spike in my prolactin. So everyone was concerned that I'd stopped being, I was no longer being treated effectively by the medicine. But then everything stabilized again. This year I'm having problems again. So it's now April when I'm recording this. I haven't had a period for about 4 months, and I've started to have headaches again. I have a headache pretty much every day. And some days it's hardly noticeable. It's just sort of there in the background. So today, if I stop and think about it, I've got a little bit of a headache, and it's kind of behind my eyes and across here. But some days it's really a debilitating headache, and I'm sort of taken to bed for a good few hours. So I'm having the headaches. I haven't had periods again. So of course went and had a blood test, and my prolactin has gone really high again. And again, my GP doesn't really know what to do. They always say, I can't really advise you on this. You need to speak to the endocrinologist. And with everything the way it is at the moment with the pandemic and COVID, it's really hard getting an appointment. So I had to wait a while to speak to my endocrinologist, and basically they suggested I increase my medication just a little bit. So not doubling the dose like I did in that experiment, but just increasing it a little bit to see if that will stabilize my hormones. And then I'm having an MRI at the end of May to see if the tumor is okay. So the last time I had an MRI, my tumour had shrunk significantly because of the medication. But because I've got high prolactin again, they're concerned that it may have grown again. So it's very annoying. The headaches are hard going. I'm glad that I'm not in a normal job and that I work for myself, because I can take time to rest and relax and practice self-care. I've also been quite emotional. So as you will know, if you follow my channel and you've seen my blog and stuff, I really take care of my mental well-being and my mental health, and I practice a lot of tools and things to keep mindful and keep happy and just look after myself. But despite that, I've had days where I've been feeling really happy and cheerful, and then I feel really tearful and upset for no apparent reason. So my hormones are really all over the place. I'm definitely irritable. So it's been a thing this last few months, and it's come back to sort of haunt me when I thought really that it was a condition that was being managed. However, I'm keeping positive. I'm hoping that taking more of the meds will help to stabilize the prolactin again. I'm hoping that the MRI scan comes back and doesn't show that my tumour's grown, or if it has, that again the meds will shrink it again. So we'll see what happens there. So that's it really. That's my story of 14 years of dealing with prolactinoma. The other thing I will say is that I do have very, very low blood pressure. It's borderline, I mean it's extremely low, and it's borderline causing problems if it gets any lower. And I believe that that is a side effect of the medication that I take. I feel lightheaded and dizzy a lot. So at the moment I'm recording my blood pressure every day so that I can provide some stats to my healthcare providers. So I do think that that is a side effect. So that's a not so nice thing. And even if my prolactin stabilizes, I may still have some low blood pressure problems. So I'm currently wearing compression socks and trying to keep really, really hydrated. And the only other thing I thought I'd mention is, now this is a slightly controversial thing to say, so again, speak to your healthcare provider, don't take my word for it, this is just my opinion. But since I've been diagnosed with this condition and taking the cabocolin, I believe that my immune system has been worse. So when I was working in an office, I used to get every cough and cold going. I got a lot of stomach bugs and random viruses and stuff. If it was going around the office, I would always seem to get it. And I appreciate maybe I've just got a low immune system, but I did join a group on Facebook. It's called Prolactinoma Support Group, I think, if you want to look it up. And a lot of people in there seem to have a low immunity. And I've Googled to see if taking cabocolin lowers your immunity, because it's suppressing hormones, right? So that kind of, again, not a clinician or a scientist in any way, don't understand all of this stuff, but I thought, perhaps that's what it is. Maybe the cabocolin is suppressing my immune system in some way. I couldn't find much on it apart from one random white paper someone had written which suggested that it does suppress the immune system somewhat. But I think the condition, having a prolactinoma, is reasonably rare. Having one that needs to be treated like I do is even rarer. And then the people that are taking cabocolin, not everyone is taking it. So there's not that much data and not really any studies have been done into it. I mentioned this to my endocrinologist and she said there's no data to support that. There's nothing that I know of that makes it, mean that you've got a low immunity. So that's just my own experience and my own thoughts on the fact that I think I've got a low immune system. Well, I definitely have got a low immune system. I know that, but is it because of this condition and the medicine? I think so. But like I say, that's just my own thoughts. So if you are going through blood tests and MRIs and you are concerned about prolactinoma, or maybe you've had one for a while, or you know someone who is, and you want to ask me any questions, then please comment below. I'm very happy to answer them. And if you're feeling scared or worried, then it's unpleasant and it's annoying. And yes, I've had my ups and downs with it, but there are worse things to have. So although it's absolutely natural to be worried and concerned and get fed up and frustrated sometimes, I'm grateful that I don't have anything more serious wrong, and that throughout the years, I'd say 99% of the time, it's not been debilitating in any way. So I hope that can reassure you. But like I say, comment below questions or message me privately. If you don't want to contact me directly, you can come to my website and find ways to contact me there, or look me up on social media, and I will be very happy to answer your questions or share more about my experiences. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn more about living your best life, then please check out the other videos on my channel and subscribe. Hit the like button if you found this useful. Thank you for watching, and I will be here again soon. Thank you.